July 29th. I'll call the meeting to order at 7:32. I'll read the intro and then we'll get started. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Southborough Trails Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough's website at https://www.southboroughtown.com. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch or participate in the meeting may do so in the following manner: by finding the meeting at https://www.southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we're unable to do so, despite best efforts, we'll post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. So we'll do a roll call vote of who's attending. Tom McCollier.
Here.
Satyendra Sharma.
Here.
Isabel Murphy. Here. And I'm Catherine McKee. So we're good there. I'm just going to check. It looks like Louisa needs the link resent. I did resend it. Let me just double check that that it went out. Yep. So I'll say see email and hope she can join us. Great. So we are expecting visitors today. So I'm going to the gallery. It looks like we have Jamie Carr. So I'm going to advance Jamie to I'm going to promote him to a panelist. And Tim Davis has also joined us from Recreation. I'm going to promote him. So Tim, can you hear us? You're on mute, so I'm going to unmute you. Okay, it looks like Jamie, you can you hear us?
I made it, yeah. Thank you for the promotion. That sounds good to me.
Thank you for joining us. I think Tim is now on. Can you hear us, Tim?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Right.
Great. Okay, we are expecting one more, but I'm assuming he will be joining us soon. That's Sam Stivers from the Board of Selectmen. So if we want to just get started, I again thank Tim and Jamie for joining us. If we can start with just brief introductions, perhaps Jamie, you'd like to start and just tell the committee who you are. I think most of us know you, but it's the first time we've actually, as a group, gotten to speak with you.
Yep. Yeah, good to see you guys this morning. Thanks for having me. So my name is Jamie Carr. I'm the Regional Director for DCR's Division of Water Supply Protection Office, overseeing the Wachusett and Sudbury reservoirs and their watersheds.
Okay, thank you. And Tim, would you like to just give a brief introduction? I believe this might be your first Trails Committee meeting as well.
Yeah, definitely. Good morning, everybody. My name is Tim Davis, just the Recreation Director here in the town of Southborough. Been here about a year, so I'm sorry so long to get into one of your meetings.
Great. Okay, so let's see, there looks like Sam has joined us now. So I'm going to promote him to panelist. Give him just a moment to settle in. And Sam, I'm going to unmute you. There you are. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Great. So we just did introductions. We have Jamie Carr, Regional Director of Watershed.
I heard, yep.
Great. And Tim Davis. So just if you want to give your a brief introduction.
Sure. Sam Stivers, a member of the Board of Selectmen, a longtime supporter and interested party in the Trails Committee work. Also involved MWRA. As you may know, Jamie, I'm on the Southborough's and MWRA water community, and I happen to be on the MWRA Advisory Board and Executive Committee. So I've been following this from the MWRA side. So glad to be here. Welcome.
Great. Great. And I do want to just acknowledge that Louisa has joined us. So I'm going to rename her now. Great. Okay, so I think everyone received the timeline and background information I circulated yesterday. We'll include a copy of that in the minutes for the public to review as well. I should start by just asking if there were any questions about what we put together, and maybe I'll ask you, Jamie. I thought it was helpful for me to go through the process to understand where we've come from 2017, from our original kickoff meeting with DCR and MWRA. Were there any questions or comments about any of the information I'd sent that I can maybe clear up?
Thanks for sending that over. I was able to review that quickly yesterday, and it was helpful to see the timeline laid out. These projects tend to take a while, so it was helpful to have the retrospective. And then also note the personnel changes. That's another kind of added challenge when you have the personnel changing. Then it kind of takes everybody, like myself, a little bit to get back up to speed and see what's gone on before, but your documentation was helpful. I don't think in the PDF, I wasn't able to view the actual attachments. So I will have a question for you after, if you can send, I think like the 8M agreement for that section of trail was included in the appendix, but I wasn't able to link to that actual document. So I'll follow up and check in with you for that, but that was all.
Okay, great. Sam and Tim, did you have any comments or feedback?
Oh, very helpful. I'd heard bits and pieces along the way, but putting it all together was interesting. As Jamie suggests, it's been a fairly long time in coming here, and it's been an interesting process to see all the various versions and changes of characters and so forth. But I'm optimistic that we seem to be making good progress here, so that's good news.
Great.
Just wanted to echo what Sam said. It was very helpful to have it on paper. So thank you for taking the time and sending that over.
Yeah, happy to. So should we dive in, Jamie, and give you the floor to kind of give us an update? Last we spoke, DCR had put a few things on hold reasonably because of COVID. So, we'd like to kind of understand the question really is the area that we're referring to is what we're calling the peninsula. That's near Fayetteville Dam. And I believe my understanding is that land is not yet open to the public access. Access to the public has not yet been permitted. So, where are we with the process? Where's DCR with the process of reviewing that and next steps?
Yep. So thanks, Catherine. That's correct. So typically, by opening up an area to public access, the way we would do that is with an update to our public access plan, which was in the works and scheduled. Ideally, if you asked me at the beginning of the year, I would have told you that we would expect to have that completed this calendar year. But as you know, we did put together a survey that we sent out and got a good number of respondents and good input and response on that, just to kind of get some input from the public on a number of topics. And then we also scheduled a listening session to also collect more public feedback on that. And those are kind of the normal steps of the process of updating the public access plan. And as you mentioned, adding this new section of trail would be included in that, in the plan update, or at least that's what we anticipated. So since the coronavirus pandemic and some other factors, that process has been put on hold. My current understanding is that is still on hold at this time. So I don't have an anticipated or updated date for when I think that would be complete. We're anxious to work on it and get it completed, but that still hasn't resumed yet. So.
Great. One question I had is this survey, is there a part of the process that's made available to the public to review how people responded?
We had anticipated, so in the updated plan that we would be working on, what we typically do is have some of the results at the end included in the updated plan, and then pull out if there's a common question that's asked a lot in the survey or a common comment, then we would respond to those comments and include that in the public access plan as well.
Great.
Naive question here, since it's not open to the public and there's some fencing needs that need to be done. Could that be done now, or do we have to wait until it's open?
Yeah, I think we could set it up so if there is fencing that needs to go up, that we could do that, and that wouldn't be considered general public access. That would be kind of a more special thing where you could get perhaps something like an access permit to set that up.
And is there any harm in proceeding in that way? For example, if we were to move forward with putting up the fencing, is there any chance that this land the answer would be, we're not going to make it. We've changed our minds. We can't make it publicly accessible. Is that where are we with that chance?
So I wouldn't say it's not a chance, but from my perspective and my understanding, I don't see anything that indicates that we wouldn't allow that, or there's any opposition or big roadblock other than us producing the public access plan to include it.
Got it.
Catherine,
Yes,
can I ask a question?
please.
Jamie, per your comment that things are on hold, is there anything that the town can do in terms of putting in a request or writing a letter or whatever that would help reinforce our serious interest in this and have any impact? Or is this something that your senior management people get hundreds of these letters every day and are not inclined to be too swayed by that kind of request?
Yeah, I can't speak to how what type of sway the request would have, but if that's something you want to do, then I'd encourage you to do so.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Sam, follow up for the question for that. Do we have to make a motion for the Board of Selectmen to send a letter?
That would be helpful. I can't speak for the board as one member, but if I had a little ammunition to go back to the board and say, committee is very eager to have this happen, I'd certainly do whatever I can to get that letter out. And I think there's a good chance it would do. I mean, there's a lot of support on the board and in town for this, certainly.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Does someone want to make a motion?
I will make the motion to ask the Board of Selectmen to write a letter to the DCR showing our support and eagerness to put up the trail as soon as possible.
I will second that.
Yep.
Thank you.
As consent.
Great, and we'll do a roll call. So please let me know that you're in favor when I call your name. Tom McCollier,
Yes.
Isabel Murphy,
Yes.
Satyendra Sharma. I didn't hear you.
Yeah.
Satya. You're on mute. I'm gonna unmute.
Yep.
Got it. Okay, Luisa Vargas.
Yep.
Great, and I also agree. So thank you.
Thank you.
Great. So, yeah, so I think if that makes sense, we can move with the fencing quotes, and I'll work with you, Jamie. We met with the contractor last fall to do a walkthrough just to get an estimate. So there's some questions that we have regarding fencing specs that MWRA was helping us with. So I'm working with Sean Nevin on that. So I will send my questions to him. Should I copy you and just keep you in the loop on all of these conversations so that we're all on the same page? They're just questions about height and certain specs of the fence that we want to either follow what's currently in place, or are there other things that we need to look at when we're examining that
Yeah, I think if you can just CC me on those correspondences with MWRA, that'd be helpful.
Great. And if I could ask one other question. So, this project's put on hold. What are you finding? Can you speak a little bit to what is happening for DCR during COVID? How has it shaped and reprioritized some of your project objectives for 2020 and future year?
Yeah, so it's been an interesting year, I think, for everybody. We kind of went into a period there of most of our staff telecommuting without any advanced notice or planning. You know, that's kind of the way it just happened at the beginning. We had a significant time period where our watershed maintenance and building maintenance staff was on a half staff schedule. So we had half of the, basically split the crews up and had half of them reporting on one week and then half on another week. So that's kind of, you know, put us a little bit behind on some of our physical maintenance activities. Our office staff have been telecommuting, and for the most part, we've been able to, you know, keep moving along with our core objectives of, you know, water quality sampling and monitoring and enforcing the Watershed Protection Act, things like that. So we've been, you know, we've been doing pretty good, but we've definitely had to kind of scale back and prioritize on a number of fronts.
Yeah.
I think
Catherine?
like most people have, you know, like most groups had to.
Yeah.
You kind of make the
Thank
best you can out of it.
Sam, you had a question?
Can I ask another question, please? Yes. Jamie, one of the things that we've found helpful in terms of dealing with the Mass DOT, for example, is we make requests for support is to be able to reinforce things that the department is trying to do. So if we're trying with MassDOT, for example, if we've got a road project that actually fits in terms of completing a network or improving a network that they are interested in as a priority project for them, that's been a very helpful thing for us to get their attention and get support. Are there things that DCR is doing that are somehow related to this Peninsula Trail property opening up that we could emphasize and say, you know, we support this because we understand that DCR is trying to do X, Y, and Z, and this fits into that overall, you know, grand master plan or whatever that could help us package the request in a way that would be seen as more favorable in terms of support?
Good question.
So I guess something to emphasize would be kind of the bigger Burroughs Loop Trail plan, you know, and the fact that you've got, I think it's 24 out of the 33 miles that are, you know, on the ground and complete so far. So I think emphasizing that. And then also the cooperation between, you know, with DCR that, you know, the trails are a good recreational opportunity. You know, that's something that's key to DCR, you know, main DCR's values. So it's a little bit different when you bring it down to the Division of Water Supply level, where our focus is, you know, not necessarily on recreation, but more on the protection of the water supplies. But that's something that's, you know, gets incorporated as we're part of the bigger agency. So.
Okay, thank you.
Would it be helpful, Jamie, for the Trails Committee to have a liaison from DCR that is trails focused, not by any means saying we should not work with you, but because it is in watershed. But is there any benefit to having a contact at DCR so that we can align objectives and priorities in a way that would work for the organization? Maybe better than now if we're not necessarily connected with someone?
Yep, that's a good question. Maybe that's something that we can discuss further after. I think for the most part, it's to date, it's just been myself. I've been interacting with Wachusett Greenways quite a bit, and then the Clinton Trails group in Clinton, Mass. Those are both based at the Wachusett Reservoir. So that, you know, honestly, for us, for water supply, the trails are kind of an interesting intersection of, you know, maintaining water supply protection, having the trails go in a way that's still protecting the water supply, but then, you know, allowing for recreation as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit different. For the most part, in water supply, we end up restricting access and recreation, you know, which isn't everybody's favorite thing. But we also recognize that the trails are a public benefit. So,
Yeah.
Jamie, follow-up comment on it if I could. I mean, does it makes sense, this is just sort of off the top of my head, I don't know, but does it make sense to point out that in fact, if this trail is opened up and there are opportunities for public and the Trails Committee to move through that property periodically, that in fact creates additional sets of eyes and ears that DCR staff is not out there, you know, every day observing and looking for things going on, et cetera, et cetera. So while it certainly does, on the one hand, I know, open up opportunities for people to misbehave in that area and cause a problem, it creates, again, a much more finely tuned radar system, if you will, in terms of what's going on in that part of the properties. And so, you know, that's not without some value, I would think. Is that something that people have suggested? Maybe, I don't know.
Yep, I agree that that's not without some value. I do think it's a double-edged sword, though, in terms of allowing more people, you know, in close proximity to the reservoir, just kind of also brings more opportunity for issues. So
Yes, understand.
but if it's, you know, you guys seem to have a good plan with the layout and the fencing, so, you know, hopefully it'll work out.
Or maybe we, Catherine and group, make some sort of a commitment to say, you know, the Trails Committee will ensure that on a monthly basis or whatever frequency that the committee members will, you know, observe what's going on and provide an update to DCR in terms of anything they see somehow. So it's a more formal,
Yeah.
you know, monitoring process on some frequency. I don't know if that makes any difference or not, but maybe express a willingness to do that kind of thing. And see
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Mhm.
Yep, that would be helpful. And I will add that we do get a lot of help from the public in terms of reporting things to our watershed rangers and
Sure.
discovering issues. So we do always appreciate that.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone have any other questions that we haven't touched on? Any topics?
Yeah, I have one question. What TCR is doing about the invasive species that are around the water, the trail? Because there is a program in Rhode Island in that they are removing the invasive species and planting them, replacing them with the native species. They are not invasive. So is there any plan like that?
Do you mean terrestrial invasives that are right around the trail or the aquatic invasives that are in Sudbury Reservoir, or both?
Both.
Both. Okay. So we're a little bit more focused on the aquatic invasives. So we currently, with MWRA, have contractors that are managing water chestnut in Sudbury Reservoir and fanwort as well, by different harvesting methods. I think it's a good point in terms of the terrestrial invasives. We do work on terrestrial invasives, but we don't get to do as much as I think we would want. You know, they're kind of a tough opponent, and they take a lot of resources and a lot of time. So we've, you know, haven't done as well with the terrestrial invasives. But if you can pass along any information about grants or grants for managing invasives along trails, then I'd be interested in hearing about that.
Great. Thank you, Soti.
I had a question if you guys are done with me, or you obviously can ask more questions, but I had a question for you, Catherine. If you could just update me on, you mentioned the grants. I think you were working on the grants last time I had talked to you, but if you could just provide an update on the status of those and where you guys are at with that.
Absolutely. So we have passed on doing applying for the DCR grant that typically comes around at the beginning of the year because the land hasn't been open to public access. So we haven't. So our plan is we would like to apply for next year's grant to move things forward. But one question back to you is it even wise to apply for a grant? And can you from DCR for land that's not open to the public yet? Or does it need to be open to you know, receive a grant? Yeah.
I'm not certain about that. I don't know the answer to that question. So.
Yeah, I attended the Trails Conference, last DCR sponsored Trails Conference in November, and had started that conversation with, is it Amanda Lewis, who manages the grants? So I can circle back with her. So that was one reason we've kind of held off. We are also looking to apply for CPA funds and go through that application process as a separate funding mechanism to help perhaps move forward with the fencing before the DCR grant, so that, you know, a couple of avenues that way.
Yeah,
but that's where we're at. And we're always looking for grants where, we can, recreational grants that would help fund these types of projects, but we don't have any additional ones right now on the radar.
Okay.
Catherine, I'd point out that there's actually a bill in the legislature now that I don't know the total amount, but it's a big number, $100 million or $200 million or something, that has a whole basket full of things that might get funded there. And they're scrambling to get something done on that this week. I actually wasn't looking at that one from the standpoint of trails. I apologize, but it's many pages and lots of things that they're trying to fund. And I think the bottom line is that the governor had been having a hard time getting his housing choice bill through. And so what he's done, apparently, sort of in the suspicious view of what he's done, is he's wrapped that in a couple $100 million of grant potentials for a huge wide variety of programs, and is trying to sell it as a package deal. And there's a huge amount of controversy about it. But if that passes, there may be some money in there for recreation things that could be an interesting possibility for us. So I'll go back and take another look at that. But
Thank you, Sam.
you might keep an eye on that one and see what happens this week later, because there's a big push to get that through.
Definitely. I appreciate that.
Hey, Jamie, can I just ask you one last question? I don't know if this is part of your geographic responsibilities, but are you familiar with, I think it's called the Cotuit Bike Trail, the bike trail that goes across Route 9 and Route 30, and it's part of the Framingham reservoirs?
That one is not under me. So,
Okay.
so I'm not that familiar with it, no.
Because it goes very close to the reservoirs in Framingham, or right around Route 9.
Mm-hmm.
I just, again, a little curious of how that got started and progressed and stuff like that. It's following an old rail trail.
Mm-hmm. That's what, for the most part, the trails at Wachusett that have been established are mostly along the older rail beds. So.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So any other questions? Tim, do you have anything you'd like to add? Putting you on the spot.
No, I'm good. This is very informative. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Well, if there's nothing more, we want to thank you, Jamie and Sam and Tim, for joining us. You're welcome to stay with us for the rest of the meeting, or or head out and start your day, or continue.
Okay. I did have one other thing. I didn't want to get you guys off topic with that, with the peninsula work, but I did just have something to bring up. One topic that we always seem to have an issue with at Water Supply is dogs and dog users and dog access and dog waste, and
Yes.
primarily because the dog waste is a direct water quality concern in terms of bacteria and nutrients.
Yeah.
So I just had something to bring up to you guys. So one area that's a little bit sticky is the section 4 area of the trail along the open channel.
Yep.
So I think, so that's DCR property that's under care and control of MWRA along the open channel there, the aqueduct.
Yeah.
So it seems like in looking at the map, we've noticed that it kind of jumps back and forth from dogs being allowed to dogs not being allowed, to dogs being allowed to dogs not being allowed. There's like a section there, and there's also a small section, that's kind of isolated where bikes are allowed. So that's kind of from our point of view, it doesn't look like the uses are set up the best way to be protective of water quality, and also to be clear for the users of the trail in terms of understanding what they can and can't do on that section. So
yeah, so the bike use I'm curious about, because I'll have to take a look at the map and see how it's worked out, because I understand that there are no bikes allowed on any trail in Southborough at this time. So I'll take a look at that map, and I'm in touch with Sudbury Valley trustees, Dan Stimson, who manages the map. So I'll make sure I get those updated. Regarding the dogs, I think you and I talked about this last November. There was some confusion because when I reviewed the MWRA agreement we had, it says dogs should just follow the protocol. And it was the Trails Committee understanding that that MWRA actually owned the land, but now I've been informed that they just care for the land that DCR owns from Deerfoot west onto the border. So all the land is owned by DCR now, but MWRA cares for everything west of Deerfoot. So it was in our agreement that you could allow dogs, but now that you've spoken, I've updated our Sudbury Reservoir Trail map to include no dogs along that. And I believe I spoke with Sudbury Valley trustees, but I'll reach back out and make sure that any map they're showing on the website says no dogs allowed along the entire section of the trail.
Okay, is that for along the entire section 4, you mean?
Yes.
Okay,
Section 3 and 4 would be covered because it overlaps a bit.
Could you just refresh my memory? I'm not familiar with 3 and 4. Where is 3 and 4 again?
Okay, so 3 and 4, I'll share my screen quickly,
Okay.
but I don't have those maps up, but I can show you from what I do have up.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, can you guys see the map that I have up here?
Yep.
Okay, so if memory serves me right, like section 3 is going to be from over on this side, right? And then section 4 is going to be over here. And if I'm wrong, you just flip it. But I think that's how it works. Section 3 here and section 4 is on the other side.
Is Flag Road really splitting the two, section 3 and section 4 then?
It's Deerfoot.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
Deerfoot. Okay. Oh, yeah.
It may be, I can't remember exactly where the split is, and it really has to do with the split isn't important other than that's how they've had to cut up the map and to make it fit to a page. Yeah. So this is the new map, Jamie, for the Sudbury Reservoir Trail, and you can see I've added no dogs, little dog icons along the trail for this one. But I'll talk to Sudbury Valley trustees and figure out if they are still marking that side dogs or no dogs, and I'll have that updated. Can I ask you, and I this is a controversial point, so I am not creating controversy, but I did want to just ask you a question about biking. I know DCR's objective is watershed protection, and that's your primary objective, and I fully support all of that. But I had a question, and I filled out the survey too and added this in. There are some trails, for example, the Bay Circuit Trail off of Clemson and Nichols, between that and Parmenter. Let me see if this map doesn't.
No, it doesn't have it. It's all the way by.
Yeah, it's on the right. So that's actually an access road that DCR uses for trucks, and they drive between. And so that, and also the peninsula, if that were to open up to the public, that's also an access road. Are those access roads an opportunity to allow biking since they allow car traffic, DCR traffic? Is that something we could explore, or is that, yeah, I'll leave it there. Is that something we could explore?
yeah, so, I think revisiting the discussion on that is okay. I wouldn't anticipate that we would open those up to bikes.
Okay, so not an option. Okay. Great. Okay, so anything else from anybody?
So I just wanted to say thank you. So thank you for updating that section, the icons on that section. So I hadn't checked in a while, but are those icons now up to date on the maps that are available online? I think on the ones that I linked through from your PDF, it still had the dogs allowed on the alternating sections.
Perhaps that's the Burroughs Loop Trail, the interactive map. Yeah.
Yep.
That's the one I need to contact the Sudbury
Okay.
Valley trustees, Dan, and make sure
Okay.
that he makes those updates on that map. Yeah,
Okay.
great.
And then I did have one request. I think one of my coworkers noted that on the homepage of the Burroughs Loop Trail, it just showed in bold that dogs must be leashed. We would just make a request if possible that you could add dogs must be leashed and picked up after.
Yes. Happy to share that update.
Okay.
This is a general question, not with the whole COVID, people using trails, walking that. Is there a noticeably more trash, poop bags, I guess, because a lot of people just drop their poop bags, you see a lot more of that because of everybody staying home and social distancing and the COVID?
We've had a lot more trail issues and trail user complaints, but I haven't heard anything about increased dog waste being a complaint above the regular level of complaints and issues we have with that. I'd put it that way.
I guess you could say that's the glass half full then.
Yeah. I mean, with the trails, you know, we had an incredible amount of recreational use both around the reservoir and on the rail trails at the beginning of the pandemic, you know, to the point where all of the parking lots were overfilled and, you know, we had a lot of issues associated with that. But I think when we were at that level of use, it's kind of hard to get away with not picking up after your dog as much. You know, there's so many people there that there's people in front of you and behind you. You're not kind of on your own, you know, is able to get away with it. But
No, no, that's actually true. Social policing, I guess.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
also, Jamie, just so you know, I also serve on the stewardship committee, and we underwent what's called a Bark Ranger training. But the stewardship committee oversees the Breakneck Hill property in Southborough, and that allows dogs. It's off of the water, and we often have this issue. So we, as a committee, are working on strategies, on talking with people in positive ways to help encourage, because we find that a lot of the issues, education, people aren't aware of how bacteria, how bad the waste can be for our water supply. So there are some initiatives in town that we're getting started, and that will definitely flow into the Trails Committee to kind of help promote that and educate trail users of the appropriate uses and why things are the way they are. So just so you know, that is kind of on top of mind and not forgotten as a priority.
Yeah, I did. There's a few signs around. I forget exactly where now, but they're exactly what you said, Catherine. They're very informative about why waste around the reservoir is a bad thing.
Yep, we have Kelly Frieda's been working on that topic for a while for us, so I can loop you in. And I should add, Catherine, that thanks for your good communication. You've been good in communicating about the kiosk signs and about other things. So thank you for that, and we can keep that up. I think Ranger Andy Leahy is kind of working on some signage for the Sudbury, and just you know, that's one thing that's been a little bit caught up in the pandemic and delayed, but just, you know, working with you guys to make sure we've got signs up on the areas that are clear for signage and what the uses are and things like that is helpful. So thanks.
Yeah, happy to. So thanks for your flexibility and letting us put up kiosks and signage and the recycling receptacles and all sorts of things. So we appreciate the relationship with DCR, and it's been a great working relationship so far. So
Sure.
Okay, if anyone has any other questions, I think we might be able to let everyone go and continue the meeting.
Okay.
Jamie.
Thank you for having me. Good to see you guys.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Jamie,
Kara.
and thank you,
Be
Tim,
well.
and thank you, Sam.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great. Okay, so it's 8:10 and we have a few items left on the agenda that we're going to want to speed through. Unfortunately, I do have an 8:30. I could probably do 8:35. I know Sati has a hard deadline also.
Yes.
So first order of business is we need to revisit 3 motions from our June 24th meeting because we did not do a proper roll call. So I have those right here in front of me. And so what I'd like to do is revisit the motion and have the person who made the motion, and then we will do another vote and put that in this week's minutes. So the first motion was made by Tom. I'll just read it, and if it's an agreement, Tom, you can say so moved. So Tom on the 6/24 meeting moved to approve minutes from May, and are you still in agreement with that motion?
So moved.
Okay, and Sati, you had seconded it. Are you still in favor of doing the second?
Yes.
Great, and so now we'll do a roll call vote with those on the line. So Tom McCoolier,
Yes.
Satyendra Sharma,
Yes.
Luisa Vargas,
Yes.
and Catherine McKee. I agree. Isabel has, she had a hard stop at 8, so she did have to leave the meeting. So that's unanimous 4-0. The second motion was to accept donation of supplies for the Sudbury Reservoir Trail post and marker project that we worked on with Fay School. So Tom, you had made a motion to accept the donation of supplies, move forward with the project, and have Fay install the posts between Middle Road and Parkerville Road. Is that still
So moved.
okay? And Sati, you had seconded that.
Yes.
Okay, great. So now we'll do a roll call vote. Tom McCoolier,
Aye.
Satyenda Sharma,
Yes.
Luisa Vargas,
Yeah.
and I also am in favor. So that's 4-0. And the last one was a motion to adjourn the meeting from 6:24. Tom, you had made the motion.
So moved.
Okay, and Sati, you had seconded that motion.
Yes.
Great. So we'll do a roll call vote. Tom McCoolier,
Aye.
Satyenda Sharma,
I
Luisa Vargas,
Yeah.
and Catherine McKee agreed. So that's another 4-0. Thank you for that little bit of housekeeping. We'll do better in the future. Okay, so let's, I had circulated the minutes. Do I need to pull those up for anyone to take a look at? Does anyone have any questions or comments from our minutes? Okay, do I
No.
have a motion to approve?
What was that was the June 24th meeting, right?
That's right.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the June 24th Trails Committee.
Great, great.
I second it.
Okay, and let's do a roll call vote. Okay, Tom McCoolier,
Yes.
Satyenda Sharma,
Yes.
Luisa Vargas,
Yeah.
and Catherine McKee. Yes, great, thank you. Okay, so let's move to the CHOAT grant project status updates. Do you want to start, Tom? You've done some research and hit some
Yes.
calls, and
Oh.
this is regarding the recycling receptacles that we're building and installing at a few locations for fishing line, monofilament fishing line.
Yes, so I thought this would be a very simple Home Depot visit or Lowe's visit, and it is not. As you know, 6-inch pipe and big home supply companies do not do it. To Republic Plumbing down there in Framingham, and I guess was lost in the translation or whatever, but they were giving me saw grade material and stuff like that. And so I was just going to get the 6-inch PVC pipe. It comes in 10-foot lengths. That's just how it comes. But then I was online, and Ferguson Plumbing, not sure if anybody heard of that. They have one in Natick. So I went down there. It was in the middle of the day. The guy helped me out a whole lot. And basically their Taunton facility has what we wanted. I'm trying to find his notes. One of the things he said is once you get it, it's a certain kind of piping that they do have in stock that's not saw grade, it's thinner and stuff like that. That's perfect for this. So I go down there this week to get those parts, for the pipe, depending on the elbows and the threaded adapters and the plugs. If their prices are competitive to the ones at the Home Depot site, I'm just gonna get it at Ferguson's. If they're tremendously more expensive, I already have the cart for Home Depot and I was gonna order that.
Okay, great.
I will give you an update on the pricing. So
Yeah.
just to keep in mind, we have funding now for 3 of them, and we have pipe for 5 of them.
Okay, so we do have a little extra money. The signs came back because they are from 47 inches to 36 inches. They are $25 less expensive per sign. And the decals, the Boating USA website that we're using, they provide the first 5 decals for no charge and not even shipping. So that's
Wow.
another $20 that we had estimated. So that's $125 or $120. And let me do the rough math on that, or let me do the exact math after this, Tom, just to confirm. But if we needed a little more funding, we would be able to shift some funds in that direction.
So what I'll do is once I get the pricing and stuff, like I said, the pipe, you know, get it all, but I could just circle back and then find out all the pricing. And if we can do 5, because we have the pipe for 5, if the funding makes out, we'll just get off of all 5.
Okay.
But I'll get per widget, and then we can just do the, you know, the math.
Okay, great. And I did, so the decal should come this week. Yeah, so the other thing is DPW did confirm we can use the existing pole, the metal pole on Middle Road. She was appreciative of letting her know that the sign that says no parking between these signs needs to be replaced. So reusing some of these poles and posts will help us save on money that we have to spend.
So is that one that we saw there the other day? Is that the one she's letting us put the receptacle on?
Yeah, where the sign kind of swings if you touch it.
Are they going to reattach it or do something like that, or we just can?
We're going to go underneath it. So if she's replacing the sign, she has the option to do that. at the top.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So she's replacing the sign, which means she'll probably it's not certified, but make the pole sturdy.
Yes, perhaps. Yeah. So we might want to hold off or just coordinate based on that
Yep.
information of how we want to handle it. And then if we choose, if we're going to do 5 and we can, then maybe we choose like Route 85. We talked about, like, I see a lot of traffic. I mean, all year round, like all summer so far,
Yes.
and less on Middle Road. So we could perhaps reuse a gate post. We'll want to talk to DCR about that and making sure it doesn't impede upon anything that needs to go around it or doors opening, but
Yep.
it might be an option too. So we can figure that out. So thank you very, very much for doing that.
And so when I do have the material, I'll just cut the piping. That's just cutting the piping.
Yeah.
And if anybody wants to come down, we can have a little.
Yeah, a piping party. I would love to help. So if you want to keep me posted, Sati, are you
Yep.
interested or?
Yeah, I can help you.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
stand far apart and be able
It won't take a long time, just to give you an idea. Once the pipe's cut, it's really gluing the right angle, gluing the threaded adapter at the bottom,
Yeah.
and waiting that for dry, then stickers, and then depending on how they're going to get fastened, screwing some holes.
So I have a question about gluing how do you get the trash out?
So at the bottom,
It's that's not glued, right?
no, this
That's
screws
fastened.
into this,
Okay,
and that's the plug,
okay.
and
So
then
that comes off.
that just comes off channel links, or maybe if it's not too hard, you could just do it by hand.
Okay,
That's what comes out, and then you kind of like stick in a long screwdriver to pull things out of it,
okay, great,
to empty it, that is.
great. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, so I do have one quick update. So he started on the signs. I wanted to show you, he sent a preliminary picture. So can you guys see my screen? This is our Southborough Trail sign. He did say the letters could be taller if we did single text, and per our last meeting, we had opted for taller text to be more visible. So that's that. I think it's looking good. So he's moving forward with that. So any other questions? Great, thank you. Okay, next
It looks
up.
good. I'll just make a official comment that they look great.
Yeah, I love it. He does really good work, so I'm really happy to have found him. Okay, so quick note on the trails cleanup status. So after our last meeting, we did clear Partridge Hill from the fallen trees. My husband came out and took care of that. And so before, the Boy Scouts had taken care of one of the father-son unit had taken care of off of White Bagley. So now all the trails are clear of any fallen trees. And I'll just go into the next point quickly. So after our last meeting, I was informed about a complaint on the Sudbury Reservoir Trail. And just know when I say Sudbury Reservoir Trail, it's also Burroughs Loop and Aqueduct. I'm just not going to say it every time. So the Sudbury Reservoir Trail, there's a complaint near the off of Middle Road, near the athletic field. And I swung by and Tom, you and I did a quick walkthrough when we were doing assessment for the site, and it looked clear. Apparently, the individual who was had been maintaining the trail. So maybe when we did our site visits, it did not appear that there needed to be maintenance. But so we've resolved the issue. I've contacted the person. I asked him, since he was had been maintaining the trail, if he wanted to be a volunteer, adopt a section 4 trail. He did not reply that he wanted to be that volunteer. So, but I've since gone out and surveyed the entire trail section and spent many hours with my weed eater and a hedge trimmer, clearing some things up. I spoke with J&J Mowing. They have a contract, the town contracts with them to do some of the section from Middle Road. They do just at the right there where the trail starts before it gets to the athletic field. They'll do a little clearing there. And then east of that, along the trail that goes up to the power lines and then around Partridge Hill, along White Bagley and all the way to East Main. So they were late this year, about a month, because they didn't have access to the locked gates. DCR had installed locked gates last year, so they now have resolved that and did their mowing. After I spoke with Isabel about checking on White Bagley, she said there was a section of trail that had not been mowed, which she thought traditionally J&J had been maintaining. I took a look yesterday and brought my weed eater out there. It is not something, there's a lot of poison ivy, and it's not something that really a weed eater can take care of. It's really tall grass, and I've done a lot of weed eating inappropriate things, but I tried to get down there, and it was just putting my health at risk. I am highly allergic to poison ivy. I just got over a really bad case, and it gets worse as you get older. It can, and it is in my case. So I had to stop what I was doing. And so one question I'll have for J&J is if they can access that section of trail or not. But the other section on White Bagley looked good. So moving forward, we're gonna, we have a plan. I've reached out to MWRA. They mow the section of open channel from Deerfoot West. So there's one section off of Ward Road. Sati, you managed the Boy Scout project up that way and did some maintenance there as well. So that's getting a little high. So I've asked MWRA to share their mowing schedule. And I did take a weed eater to some of the wooded sections just to make sure that was nice and clear. So moving forward, I won't be doing all of this. I just wanted to get out there and really see what it's going to take on certain sections. This year, our spring cleanup got a little messed up because of COVID. But we were able to clear the trails from trees, which I thought was pretty good progress. And so what I'd like to do is for our next meeting, I'll put together a proposal. We have our Adopt a Trail section volunteers. We'll ask them to get more involved and help us kind of maintain or just keep an eye on the trail if we're not out there surveying it regularly. But I think also with the 5 committee members, we can each take a section and be responsible for that, viewing it at least once monthly.
Quick question for you. Did we confirm that Fay is going to take care of the Fay athletic field to the bridge and on the other side of the bridge all the way to their other athletic field?
Thank you for bringing that up. I talked to DPW and I asked if J&J could add that section to their trail, because as far as J&J told me, they are not responsible for that. It seems like it's just a short section. DPW Karen was going to reach out to Fay School. She said it's not really in the cards to increase the contract this year due to budget constraints, which I understand, but I did share, she was going to reach out to Fay School and see if they were open to maybe maintaining that section. It seems like a really nice fit. It's right next to their athletic fields. They would just need to mow quickly and back down,
I know
and have the equipment.
It makes so much sense for them to take care of that because it's really nested in their property.
Right, but if not, I would still push for J&J because they can access it easily from Parkerville. It's a small section. It really should not increase the budget very much. And honestly, I shared candidly with Karen, we're happy to do all the work we can where we're taking weed eaters and hedge trimmers out, but we don't have the equipment to do mowing in that way. And that's a wide section of trail where a weed eater is not efficient, effective.
No.
Yeah, so that's in the works and we'll see what she says, but thank you for bringing that up. Anything else on trails? And so I'll keep everyone posted and if you're out there looking, just keep us posted on what's happening. There was a lot of work that needed to be done off of Deerfoot, where the Eagle Scout had installed the historical marker project across from the Burnett house. That was pretty grown up. So I took a weed eater and made that nice and now it's passable. So we're in good shape, I think, for most part. but we will come up with a formal maintenance plan and then add that to the website so people who are curious can take a look. So speaking of the website, just quickly, I want to ask for any volunteers. We have a resource page and we haven't built that out yet. And so things that can go on the resource page would be our Boy Scout guidance, you know, how to do a Boy Scout project, an Eagle Scout project with the trails. Like it takes you step by step through different boards, committees, and the process that you need to. We can add that. Poison ivy, preventative poison ivy or treatment, you know, the little things like that, trails maintenance, best practices, that kind of stuff. Does anyone want to volunteer to come to the next meeting with a proposal on how we can build that page out? And if it's not something you feel comfortable taking on, you know, we could ask, Isabel too. Tati, you want to take a?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And if you want to reach out with any questions, I'm happy to work with you on that.
Okay.
If you want to brainstorm, if it's a little brainstorm session is helpful.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. And so quickly, the Sudbury Reservoir, the trail marking, the post project, we want to thank the individual who donated the supplies for that project. I worked with Fay School. They did the installation and I did the markings the other weekend. So there's 4 new posts. They were able to recycle one of the posts that the Girl Scouts put up in 2017 with their project. I think it was 2017. And so we reused that post. And now from Parkerville to Middle Road, you can't get confused where the trail is. So so now it's just easier. And when you're coming off a Middle Road and you end up on that athletic field and you're like, where do I go now? It's really clear where you go. Okay, so thank you for all of everyone's help on that. Central Mass Regional Planning Commission, the interactive online map, they are starting their work, their training this week. So they're going to be mapping in the next couple of weeks. They're going to do the Sudbury Reservoir Trail from Westboro to East Main, and also the Burroughs Loop and Aqueduct Trail. And then they wanted 2 trails, so I gave them also the town forest. So they'll be mapping that as well. And I did offer any help. So if they needed some help, I will reach out and let you know if there's an opportunity for us to tag with them and learn something about how their GPS machines or how they're using their GPS tools, because it's interesting stuff. The other thing I just wanted to say, Bay Circuit Trail. So the Bay Circuit Trail volunteer program supervisor, Christine, reached back out. They had, if you remember one of our previous meetings, we had discussed the work party that got postponed from April. They were either to do a volunteer youth crew this summer or plan it for a work day in the fall. All of that scrapped. They just said, you know what, we're going to do it ourselves. And I asked them to give me dates, and it looks like maybe next week they'll be coming out to do the Bay Circuit Trail connector reconstruction. I'll reach out to MWRA, give them a heads up that we're going to be out there. And I asked her, if you can give us days, I'll let my committee know, and if we can take off a day or be a half day or whatever it is, we'll try to help as we can. But that's exciting. So that means the Bay Circuit Trail connector is getting reconstructed this year. Yay. As we had planned. And so there'll be some project coming up for us to go out there and do some markings. So maybe we can do that as a group one day. I'm going to meet with Christine on Friday morning at 8 a.m. to do another site walk with a few of the volunteers to make sure the plan, the path is marked clearly. And then we'll go from there.
Are you doing it this Friday?
Yeah, Friday morning at 8. Do you want to join?
I can't.
If anyone wants to join, you're welcome to. We're going to meet on Thomas Drive and Framingham Road. That's where we'll park and then walk through. And we talked about the funding for the CBC application. We'll revisit that next meeting as well. I might, in the meantime, talk to Isabel and have her help us pull together whatever we need to. I believe the application is going to be due in the fall if all things are still, the website's not quite clear or updated, but as it has in the past, I think we'll just we could reach out to them and see actually what they're doing this year for application process and try to get that going. But okay, anything else that I haven't brought up? Next meeting?
That was a lot.
Okay, I know, I said it really fast. I can't wait to review.
I know.
them.
You have a hard stop. So let's find a date for that next meeting.
Sorry about that, and thanks for dealing.
Hap-
Okay, so let's see, August. Should we shoot for the last week in August and give us,
26th.
you know
Okay.
what, maybe not the last week, because if we're gonna do a CPC application, we might need a little more work time. So can we try the third week, the week of the 17th?
Yeah, I want to try. Still keep it on. Does the morning still work for everybody? I know there's only, not all of us are here, but Louisa says yes.
Yeah, does it work for you, Louisa? Like if you're in the evenings working now, so it might be a better way to do it. And Sati said, if as long as we stop at 8:30, are you comfortable?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so let's do the 19th then.
Yeah.
Does that work? Wednesday the 19th?
Yep.
at
Wednesday, 19th, 7:30 a.m.
7:30. And I'm sure Melissa is behind the scenes cringing that we 7:30. No, she's a trooper, so we appreciate Melissa's support back there. Okay, so that's that. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make the motion to adjourn the Trails Committee July 29th meeting at
At-
33.
Great.
Seconded.
Okay, and now I need to do a roll call. Tom McCoolier,
Yes.
Satyendra Sharma,
Yes.
okay, and Luisa Vargas.
Yes.
Great, and I also. Wonderful. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate all of your help, and have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Hey, Catherine, my Friday does push change. I'll text you. and I'll
Okay,
tell-
yeah, sounds good.
All right.
Thanks for joining us, Sam, and goodbye, Melissa.
Bye.